y'all, welcome back to Regina's Crafting and More. I have another edge-to-edge design. This is the Hummingbird and Hibiscus edge-to-edge. There's 4 different designs in the rectangle size and 4 different designs in the square sizes. The differences are the position of the hummingbirds versus the hibiscus, and there's 2 different hummingbirds, so you have a few choices. So I'm going to stitch the first rectangle. And this says it's going to take 4 minutes for this to stitch. This is the 5x7 size. I realized my machine was stitching too fast. And that's a little too slow, so let me bump it up 1. So I'm stitching at 700 stitches per minute on this. So since I slowed it down, it's 5 minutes of stitching time. So depending on the size of your project that you're quilting, I have the 5x7 hoop, the 6x10, 7x12, 8x12, 9x14, and 10 5/8 by 16. In the squares, I have 4x4, 6x6, 8x8, 9.5 by 9.5. I'm thinking 10 5/8 by 10 5/8. So it has a hibiscus and then these little flowers. I don't know what they are. Just loopy flowers. And this is actually hummingbird number 2. And there is another hummingbird that has the same design pretty much. So there's this hummingbird and the other one. And then it'll have another hibiscus right here in this corner. So it's almost done. I'm going to come over here and do another hibiscus, facing a different direction. remember, you'd be using thread to coordinate with your project. I'm using a colored thread here so you can see the stitching. Wouldn't necessarily be using purple unless your project called for that. So this is where the next design would meet up, right there where it just ended. Alright, and there's, I'm not sure what the designation on this one is, but that's the first one I'm stitching. Alright, so I'll be right back. Okay, so this is going to be the other hummingbird. It starts with the hummingbird and does the hibiscus here and over here. So this is a different orientation. Same amount of time as far as stitching. And I would not suggest that you do this on a high speed. Like I said, I've got 700 stitches per minute that I'm stitching this at, and it's doing well. The other one was at 800 and it was a little too fast. It left a little loop on the very beginning because it was stitching too fast. That. I don't know what that little backup stitch was. So like usual, I'm stitching this the first time. Echo stitching there to get where I needed to go. Oops, sorry. The wheel of my chair's caught on my tripod. Alright, so I'll be right back. Alright, it just finished up. And there it is. Alright, now on to the next one. Alright, so now to the next block. I have to go to embroidery. Alright, so this starts with the hibiscus up here and down here, and a hummingbird here and here. And the little blip that I had right here, I've already corrected. Right there, I've already corrected. So I'm working on some loops right now. And it'll just be loops. It'll start over here and it'll loop around, loop around, loop around, and there's 3 rows of loops on a 5x7. Each one is going to have different numbers of loops because of the size of the hoops. Now, once again, remember, I'm doing it in red just so that you can see it, and it can be seen in pictures on Etsy, and you would be doing it in a thread color complementary to your project. So once again, it's 5-minute stitching time, so I'll be back. Alright, so this one has finished. Like I said, it doesn't take long for these smaller sizes. And I'll be right back. Alright, so the 4th rectangle, hang on just a second, is the alternate hummingbird starting here, hibiscus, hibiscus, and hummingbird. So they all start in the center and they end in the center. So you can marry any of these any way you want. You can have all of them starting with a hibiscus. You can have a hibiscus and a hummingbird, and a different hibiscus and a different hummingbird. It's however you want to mix and match them. So this darker part up here is me traveling to get back to where I needed to get. And if you're using white or something, you know, that's not even going to show. And depending on what the background is, it's just something that I couldn't avoid. I looked and looked for another way to get around. So while that recaps, we've got this one. So this hummingbird is different from the hummingbird that's stitching right now. Right, so now we have the hibiscus, starting with the hibiscus, and a hummingbird that is the same as on this one. So there's that one. And then this one starts with a hummingbird. I mean, it starts with a hibiscus, and this hummingbird is the same one that's stitching on this. Okay. So essentially you have 2 that start with the hummingbirds. That's that one, this one, and this one. And then 2 that start with a hibiscus. And that has different hummingbirds on it. You can see the difference in the hummingbirds. So while this was stitching, I just realized that my other block with a different hummingbird doesn't have a hummingbird in the center. So I'm changing that block. I'm going to have this this particular orientation with the different hummingbirds here, because right now there's not a hummingbird here in the other one. So depending on which hummingbird you like. So let's hope that I matched everything up right and it stitches well. So this is stitching Hummingbird Block A. While that stitches, I'm going to show you. So this is called the Hummingbird Block. The Hibiscus and Hummingbird, and this is the hummingbirds that are stitching right now. This one right here. That up. So then we have alternate hummingbird, hibiscus and hummingbird. Hibiscus and hummingbird, block B. But they're named hummingbird hibiscus or hibiscus hummingbird is how they're named in the files that you would receive. Once again, 5 minutes to stitch this in the 5x7, and it'll be available in all the other sizes too. Okay, so I will be back when this finishes stitching. Alright, so we're finished with the revised Hummingbird Block A. Block B. Different hummingbirds, a little bit different on the quilting to enable me to get the hummingbirds to stitch properly.